I'm going to attempt to make this video answering a bunch of the commonly asked questions I get about how to start needlepointing. So I started out needlepointing back in August, so I've only been doing it for about 6 months, and it was something that had intrigued me, but it seemed really difficult. So I was intimidated and just put off trying it. And then one of my friends taught me how to do it one day in a coffee shop, and I realized it was way simpler than I had anticipated. It looks really complicated, and especially when you see the finished pieces, it can look daunting to know how to even start that. But frankly, it's really just paint by numbers with thread. You can make it super complicated by doing harder stitches and different types of techniques, but the basic technique of just stitching is super easy. I wrote a blog post that has all of my tips for how to start needlepointing, so I'm going to somehow, wherever this video ends up, I'm going to link to that, and that can kind of guide you through it if you want to be able to read this. I'm hoping this video can be a supplement to that. The video plus the blog post can help you get off the ground and started. So very basically, you're gonna need a canvas, threads, which in the needlepoint world, they call it fibers, which I think can kind of seem pretentious, but it's really just thread. Needles. I go into detail about the size of canvas and what needle size you need on my blog post, so be sure to check out that. Stretcher bars are kind of optional. I go back and forth on whether or not I use them. It's kind of a personal preference. Sharp scissors. So I have these tiny little ones that I just keep in my needlepoint pouch, and that just is what I use to like trim threads. That's basically what you need it for. But sharp scissors is important because if they're dull, you'll just like end up fraying your thread and it'll be really hard to thread the actual needle. A carrying case. This is kind of like open-ended. You can do whatever works for you. I'll show you what I use for mine. Needle minders. This is again like an optional thing. You can always thread your needle through the canvas to keep it. I have a cute little ginger jar from Morgan Julia Designs. And that's pretty much all you need. If you have a canvas, the thread you want, the needle, the sharp scissors, you can get started. So just because this is like a beginner video, I'm just going to show you the super simple continental stitch. So that's pretty much all you need to know. You can do almost every single I think actually all canvases with just the continental stitch and not ever deviate from that. That's what I would start if you were a beginner. You can really just get away with doing the continental stitch, and that will get you a finished canvas in no time at all. This is a canvas that I picked up while I was in Palm Beach. This is from Lyset Designs, and I just think it's so cute and it's super simple, and it'll actually be like a really great way for me to show you how it works. She added some needles there for me to work with. I have this like little pouch that I've been using to hold the threads for this particular project. So it's just like a really great way to keep organized. You can kind of already tell this is how it's going to be like paint by numbers. So you'll use the white thread for the white area, this cornflower blue for the light blue area, and then this darker navy for the darker blue area. One thing that I forgot to mention is to just go ahead and jump right in. I think there's a lot of ways to do needlepoint, and once you dip your toes into the needlepoint world, you're going to find out that a lot of people have a lot of different opinions, and frankly, it doesn't matter. This is your project, so you do it the way that you want to do it, and figure it out along the way. Don't listen to the needlepoint police. There are going to be people out there who tell you you're not doing something right, and it really just doesn't matter. It's needlepoint. It's supposed to be fun. You do you. For the sake of the video, I'm actually going to use the blue because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing, and it's harder to see white on white. Okay, here are my little scissors that I was talking about. They actually come with a little case that makes it safe to travel with because these little guys are very sharp. And I'm going to just go ahead and get my thread ready, like weirdly shaking from this, so hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to start with a little bit of thread. It's easier to start with smaller just because it will get less tangled, but as you get more comfortable, you might find that you're able to work with longer threads. I just like to lick the top of the thread. Kind of gross. So I'll use my thumbnail to kind of flatten the actual end of the thread, and that's going to be how I thread the needle. Okay, so once it's in, I'm gonna pull it through and you will just knot the end of the thread here. The thread, you can see it's looped through the actual eye of the needle. You can see that I have thread kind of overlapping, and then here is the knot at the end. So when you are needle pointing, there's a thing called a waist knot. And the reason why it's called a waist knot is because it's ultimately going to be what you clip out. Okay, now usually because this is the light blue thread, I would be needle pointing wherever there is light blue on the canvas. But so that you can see it easier, I'm actually just going to show you how to do the stitches above on the white. Here's how you do your waist knot. You would pop it in outside of the painted canvas. You pull it all the way through, and this is creating the waist knot that you'll eventually snip out of the canvas. So we're going to start over here. So you come up through the canvas, pull it up, one up and over, so it's a diagonal right there. So you go down, pull it all the way through. You have your first stitch. We're gonna go to the left, exactly one hole to the left of the first hole you went into. You come up through it, and again, you go down, diagonal, one up and to the right. So again, you come up the hole directly to the left, down, one to the right. Hole to the left, down one to the right, up and to the right. And let's say that now you have to go the other direction. You're basically doing the same type of stitch, just backwards. When you go to the right, you're gonna start at the top here, and then down. It's gonna be one over to the left and one down, just to create that first stitch. And again, the same, go up and down. Up and down. Up and down. So let's say that you have another row to do, but going the other direction, you would go down, up and over, just like that first row that we did. And this is basically the pattern that you would do following the continental stitch. It is so simple and so easy, and you'll really start to get the hang of it and you can go even faster. This is a little bit more difficult for me because I'm standing behind the camera and basically hugging it and trying to look at this through the screen instead of in person. You can see here I have the block finished. So you're either going to run out of thread and then you would have to restart with a new waist knot, or you finish the color and you just want to tie it off. This is how you're going to finish it and just end it. So you go to the back, you're going to run it up a little bit of the row here. So you can see I went through about 3 of the loops. Pull it through, and to knot it off, just do a super simple knot. There's like nothing that crazy with this part. And you'll run it through the loop again. I like to use my nail just to make sure that knot got all the way down to the bottom, and then again you'll do the same thing right underneath the knot. So run it through, needle through the hole, and there you go. And then you would take your sharp scissors again and just cut it off here. So that is just like the super basic, get started, no problemo needlepoint guide.